Coming to you from the TheEoNProject studios, overlooking the vast, pristine acreage of Primrose Village. Greetings from this hidden gem of the Blackstone Valley. You're listening to Experts of Nothing with Mike and Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, look, I'm the one with the beverage today.
What you got?
And it's hot.
What do you got over there?
It's a hot black coffee.
That's not a big one though. You can't.
No.
You can't handle the large.
This is a medium.
You can't handle the large loads.
I can't handle the large black coffees.
No, you can't.
No.
Amongst other things. Well, welcome to another edition of the Eon Project. A little bit special today, as this marks the second time.
Second?
Yeah. The second time we're going to be broadcasting this show on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
So hello to those of you who are watching us on YouTube. And not hello to you who are not watching.
What's the over-under on the amount of views on this, you
13.
think? Ooh, lucky 13?
I'll watch it at least 10 times.
Oh.
So then, you know.
And I'll watch it not once completely. I'll probably watch 5 minutes of it and realize how disgusting we look and then turn it off.
Okay. Well, welcome to another edition of the Eon Project. We did have a couple of week hiatus, if you will. Midsummer break.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things going on in the summertime.
Sure.
Trips here and there.
I had a vacation with my family.
You went away, didn't you?
I did.
You want to share a little bit of that?
Sure. So we took the family to wonderful Southern Virginia.
Oh.
The Williamsburg area. You know, the world-famous colonial Williamsburg.
Yeah, it's named after a guy named Billy Berg. He's a film director.
Sure. And, there's a Peter Berg,
Oh.
whom I have met personally, and he's a nice guy. Anyway, so we went down to Colonial Williamsburg, stayed at a luxurious 5-star resort with water slides and whatnot. I hope they'll give me a free room.
Probably not.
If I mention the title of I'm not going to give them a free plug, but it rhymes with Brait Bolf Balaj.
Oh. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You know,
Wonderful.
I myself stayed at a hotel recently.
Yeah.
Last week, I went away for one evening.
Yeah.
And a pretty nice hotel. And two of the most amazing things happened.
What? Well, before you get, I was telling.
Oh,
my
I'm
story.
sorry, you weren't finished.
I just wanted to tell you about the best thing that happened to me.
What
on
happened
my
to you?
vacation.
What happened to you?
You know, I love my children, and I love my wife.
Oh.
But on a trip to Colonial Williamsburg and substantially expensive amusement park, Busch Gardens, we did go to Busch Gardens as well, which is beautiful area. But during the day, it got to be too much for me. The crowds, the noise, the people, the kids, all wanting to do stuff, and so I was starting to lose my mind a little bit. And I was actually saved because I found myself in a position where it's not normal for me. So my older two children went on a roller coaster. My younger two children and my wife went on bumper cars, and I found myself alone.
Oh.
For the first time in a long time.
What did you do?
I found a cavernous, air-conditioned, German-themed restaurant that had draft beer on tap, cold.
In the giant mugs, right?
Yeah, well, they
Steins?
did, yes. And so, and there was no one around. It was early in the day, but there was no one around. And so I was able to enjoy a few of the frosty beverages by myself in the air condition, surrounded by murals of dancing German girls.
Oh.
It was the best part of my vacation.
That sounds awesome.
I hope my wife isn't watching.
How long were you in there for?
Probably like an hour.
An hour?
Yeah, because they went and did a few things, and then they came back and got me.
Were they wearing lederhosen?
No, unfortunately, the staff was not was not Germanic. They were probably Virginians, if I had to guess.
Okay.
But anyway, the trip was pretty good.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's all right. My hotel experience, so it was a pretty nice hotel. A little pricey, but it was fun. It was just for one evening.
Sure.
And two amazing things happened. One, do you want the good one or the bad one first?
Either or.
All right, so we'll go with the good one.
Okay.
In some of the facilities, restrooms there, they had self-dispensing ass gaskets.
What do you mean self-dispensing?
So you hit a button.
Oh, you mean like the liner that you put?
Yes, the liner that goes on the seat. You hit a button,
gasket,
and this thing comes out, and it dispenses a brand new ass gasket. So
onto the toilet seat?
Onto the seat.
Get out of here.
And you don't have to
You
touch
don't have
it.
to grab it.
Nope.
Because every time you grab it, it makes weird noises, and then you have to separate
That's right.
the thing. I just bumped the mic. You have to separate the
part that hits the water.
partition
it's going to
thing,
drop
and it's
down.
going to go in there, and it falls, and you have to get another one. Oh, it's a pain in the ass.
And you got to double them up. No,
Sure.
this was great.
And it automatically puts it on?
Puts it on.
How does it do that?
I don't know.
It's a miracle.
It's amazing technology.
Wow.
So here's the bad part. So this hotel had a couple pools, right?
Oh. Okay.
And in order to use the pool, you have to be staying in the hotel. You can't just walk in off the street.
They don't want just anyone, any of the local
That's right.
peasants
That's
wandering
right.
into
So,
the area.
of course, customarily at these hotels, they have a bathroom with a dressing area.
Yes.
If you want to change, and they have showers in there.
Okay.
So, ostensibly,
So you can't just walk into the pool. You got to go through the changing area.
no, you can walk right into the pool.
Oh.
I went to the bathroom to use the facility.
Okay.
To urinate in
You didn't
the...
wanna- you didn't wanna pee in the pool?
I didn't want to pee in the pool.
Oh.
That wouldn't be proper.
Uncouth.
So in there's a man, a grown man, in the changing booth,
Did he have his foot up on the bench?
and I could. There was just a curtain, so I could kind of see him in there.
Why were you looking?
Well, I got a corner of my eye, my periphery, periphery.
It comes out.
So I'm doing my thing at the urinal. Mm-hmm. He comes out of the changing room naked, walks in across the little hallway into the shower.
Nuts are swaying in the
And
breeze.
he's showering. Like, what is he doing?
What? He likes to be naked. We've talked about this before.
But you're at a hotel that you have a hotel room with
he
a shower.
probably gets excited by being naked around other men, and that's what. And that, you know what? That's fine if that's your thing. But why are they exposing it to us?
I don't
why can't they-
understand. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
to the general public. There's places, there's bathhouses. Go to the bathhouse.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know the whole showering, and then they feel way too comfortable in their own
Way too
skin.
Nah.
And the male body is not an attractive visage.
Well, I would hope not.
No, it's all gross and
Think not,
dangly.
anyway.
Things hanging out.
All right, so enough of the male
Anyway.
anatomy.
So what are we talking about today? We're gonna talk about a couple of different things, but they're kind of related to the same thing, kind of, sort of. Mm-hmm. So today's topic is going to be UFO. Not just I take that back. Not UFOs. Alien encounters with government entities.
Yes.
And we're going to take a couple of different takes on it.
That's right.
Mine is involving actual military engagements with aliens.
Oh, like firefights and stuff?
Correct.
All right.
And yours would be what?
Well, mine is people who have participated in basically time travel, dimension slippages kind of things that the government was involved in.
Oh, okay.
Programs, government programs.
So yours isn't aliens.
It has aliens in it.
Oh, it has aliens
a little
in
bit.
it.
A little bit of aliens, yeah.
So a couple of different alien-related, but not so much things today, as we typically do on the show. As we do. Mm-hmm. It's going to go probably in a few different directions.
Okay,
So I'm going first today.
go for it.
I'll grab my notes.
You're revealing to the public that you use notes.
Of course I use notes. You think somebody could come up with all this brilliance on the top of their head?
I don't.
We often discuss supposed incidents on this show related to UFO sightings, and in some cases, sightings of actual alien beings. On rare occasions, even contact with supposed alien creatures. But what we never really discuss, and what many in the UFO community really never go there, is that there are several reported incidents where there have actually been military engagements with aliens. Mm-hmm. Sounds pretty crazy, right?
It's pretty crazy.
Not something that you hear every day.
No.
Back in the 1960s, this is most of what I'm going to talk about is related to one specific area, but it's a bunch of different things with it.
Okay.
So back in the 1960s, the U.S. government was really big into nuclear testing, as you are probably well aware, in an effort to stay ahead of the Soviet Union. You know those Soviets always, there was always going back and forth.
We had a missile race, space race, nuclear race.
Road race.
Yep.
That'd be cool. Soviet-U.S. road race.
Didn't we have one of those? Oh, wait, no, because we boycotted the Olympics,
We
and then
didn't
they
go to
boycotted the Olympics
That's
or
right.
something,
There was a lot of boycotting going on. So anyway, 1960s. So there was a lot of nuclear testing that was going around. This was true for weapons of war, but also for nuclear technology that was not related to the military, such as mining, natural gas collection, underground excavations, and so forth, which I didn't know a whole lot about that. Did you know that they used nuclear technologies for that type of purpose early on in the nuclear process? I was not aware of that either. Obviously, when they're doing these tests, they look for places that are seemingly off the beaten path, where no one would be hurt,
right?
Because they're setting off nuclear explosions, but also because they don't want anybody to see what they're doing.
Exactly.
Enter remote New Mexico. You ever been to New Mexico?
I've been through parts of it, and you know what? It's pretty remote, and
I've been there.
You can see why they test there.
I've been to Arizona. I've been to the desert.
Los Alamos.
I've never been to New Mexico. Actually, was that where Billy the Kid was from? That's where he was hanging out.
Yeah, he was hanging out there.
You know, Young Guns is on Netflix now, which is very exciting. I love Young Guns.
It.
The first one.
Yeah.
The second one isn't any good. Marked the high water mark of Lou Diamond Phillips' career.
And Emilio Estevez.
No, he did lots of things.
But what was better than Young Guns?
Nothing was better.
Men at Work?
Men at Work was a pretty good movie with Charlie Sheen. They were garbage men. And you know who was in that movie was the guy from The guy with the really deep,
the black guy.
Yeah, but with the very deep voice.
Yeah.
Very interesting. He's funny. He's a funny guy. Anyway, so this part of my story is established fact, and then I'll tell you when we're veering off of the established fact roadway.
Okay.
In 1967, a project designed to see if controlled nuclear detonations could assist in drilling operations was conducted by the government along with private industry in that New Mexico area. And so, a 26 kiloton nuclear device was detonated underground in the vicinity of Dulce, New Mexico. Is it Dulce or Dulce?
I think it's Dulce.
I like to say Dulce because there's a dessert called Dulce de Leche,
The Dulce de Leche.
which is like some sort of Mexican cake.
Oh.
Anyway, it's good. Anyway, so they detonated this underground device. I don't know if 26 kilotons is a lot. Sounds like a lot.
Well, what was the bomb they dropped on Hiroshima?
That's a great question. I don't know.
I think it was. I don't think it was that much.
I probably should have checked. Anyway, so they detonated this device, Dulce, New Mexico, which is actually near the Colorado border, which I've been to Colorado a couple of times. Believe it or not, this was called Project Gas Buggy, which is a pretty cool name for a project. Gas Buggy. Despite some leakage of radioactivity into the atmosphere and a few protests by Native Americans who actually lived in the area, how dare they live there, the test was deemed to be a success. Yay!
Hooray!
However, here's where the story takes a conspiratorial turn.
Well, this is where we like it.
Maybe into reality, maybe into idiotic fantasy. According to some, the project was to seek alternative drilling methods was actually a cover story. Ooh. According to some, as I said, as a result of the blast, we actually found that several races of aliens were occupying a vast network of caves in the area, underground caves. So what did we do?
We destroyed them.
We entered into a partnership with them.
Oh.
Yes.
Who was the ambassador, you think?
I don't know. So we decided to form a partnership and also build underground bases in the area. It's also known as the Archuleta Mesa. So you'll hear a couple of different terms. You'll hear the Dulce, New Mexico, but it's also known as the Archuleta Mesa. So from this point in the story, you have to buy into the alien theory and stop thinking objectively for a few moments. So
I'm going to believe everything you tell me from this point forward.
that sounds good.
All right.
So we started to build bases and cooperate with the aliens, which I don't know why we would do that, but maybe, who knows. Secretly, of course. In the 1970s, well, actually this part is actually documented and real, because I did check, a number of mysterious cattle mutilations begin to happen in the area of Dulce. Dulce. Cows would be found with their sex organs removed and drained of blood.
Isn't that what you do on a weekend?
Yes.
Drinking weekend. You remove a cow's organs.
Sex organs.
Yeah.
And all sorts of weird injuries. Believe it or not, the FBI actually investigated these and couldn't come up with a definitive answer. You can go on the FBI files and see that they investigated this and didn't have an answer for it. Some reports said that it was like animals, predators, and stuff like that, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Also around the same time, 1970s, people began to report seeing UFOs in the area. Large craft that made no noise, cruising around the area. So two weird developments. Starting to see UFOs, cattle mutilations. Sounds pretty familiar to those in the UFO community. But here's where the story takes even a weirder turn. In the late 1980s, early 1990s, which was a great time. Great time.
It was a good time.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Sure.
A man by the name of Phil Schneider began holding these informational talks and showing up at conferences and whatnot, like UFO conferences and
Wasn't
stuff.
he on Dukes of Hazzard?
No, that was John Schneider.
Oh, they're related.
Mr. Schneider claimed to be a government employee who worked in this network of underground bases, and he had all sorts of details about what went on there. There was also a guy by the name of Thomas Costello who claimed to be a security guard at the base, and he actually corroborated some of Schneider's reports. But I'm focusing more on Schneider.
Security guards know nothing, by the way.
No, that's pretty much true.
They just stand by a gate and look at IDs. That's it.
right.
That's all they do.
Right. So according to Schneider, who was actually a legit engineer, he was a geological engineer, which I guess they're the ones that go down and they test tunnels for how they can drill through a tunnel and make it safe.
Structural integrity
of the tunnels and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So according to Schneider, aliens and humans worked together conducting experiments in this underground base area. Everything ranging from creating alien-human hybrids, animal experiments, human experiments, and you name it. Basically all sorts of weird medical things going on there. There were supposedly 7 levels of this base, each one having a different level of clearance. One of the levels was nicknamed Nightmare Hall because of the nasty experiments that took place there. So there were human workers and prisoners there, human prisoners, as well as, the human prisoners were people who disappeared from everyday life and ended up being experimented on base. You know how many people disappear every year in the United States?
A lot.
A lot, and never found.
Never found.
So-
Not even a trace of them.
So where are they going? I mean, a lot of them killed themselves, I think.
They're going underground to the alien bases.
Maybe they're going to the Dulce base. Some of the humans that disappeared ended up being food for the aliens because they consume plasma and other human fluids.
Like Soylent Green?
They consume the plasma and fluids. Ooh. So they don't actually eat the people. They eat the byproduct of the people.
I see.
Yeah. So that's why they keep them prisoners.
What do they do with the carcassi?
Not to eat. No, they don't kill them. They're there to provide nutrients.
Sustenance.
Sustenance, like cows, kind of.
Gotcha.
So while tensions are pretty high at this base between humans and aliens, they got along okay. According to Schneider, there were several races of aliens, from reptilians, who did most of the manual labor, to Nordics, who were like the big, tall
Yep.
blondies.
Those are two of the most popular ones.
Yep. I guess the Nordics are mean and surly, not very nice folk. And then the Greys, who are also not very nice. So there was like a uneasy tension going on between all of these.
Now, are there different levels to these aliens? Like, is there a hierarchy
That's
amongst
correct.
the
That's
different
funny that you would ask
species?
That. There's a whole lot of information about that Schneider talks about, which I'm not going to get into. There's like a caste system.
Oh.
So like the reptilians are considered lower than everybody else because they're more animalistic.
Sure.
And they provided most of the manual labor and stuff like that. And then the other ones would be like higher and
gotcha.
More, like the ruling class, if you will. According to Schneider, one day in 1979, which I was only a few years old. I was a wee lad in 1979. He was with some other humans digging a new tunnel. They were going down into the setting up a new tunnel system. When they unexpectedly encountered a group of Greys that they hadn't seen before. These Greys were hostile and shot some kind of energy ball at Schneider, who then pulled a handgun and killed 2 Greys. Boom, boom.
So it's just that easy.
Yeah.
They can harness energy balls.
Yep, we can shoot them with a handgun.
We can shoot them with a modern...
And a geological engineer is he's such a good shot with a handgun that under fire, he could pull it out and nail 2 gray aliens.
Under the stress and the attack of an energy ball.
Because that's how that works.
He's able to find cover and put accurate rounds downrange.
There you go. So anyway, supposedly... After this, a real firefight took place because there was a lot of special forces guys apparently around and FBI guys and Secret Service guys and everything.
Sure.
So they engaged in some kind of firefight. The special forces dudes rolled in and a real firefight took place. Schneider lost some fingers from the energy weapon, which is true. He was missing a couple of fingers.
Well, it was probably a tragic...
Probably not from that.
wood-cutting accident.
Right. But a green beret dude saved this guy's life, pushed him into some... carriage thing that took him up to the surface and saved his life.
Sounds dramatic. We should make a movie about this.
All told, they called it the Battle of Dulce, and it cost 60 humans their lives. Not sure how many aliens.
Untold number of aliens.
Yes, but it also started a war with the aliens that continues to this day. So because of that one fight in 1979.
An underground war?
Yep. So Schneider started telling... This is actually the story gets weirder in real life. So that up to that point, it's kind of like a movie.
Sure.
Meh. So Schneider starts telling the story around the lecture circuit, and he told attendees about not only his involvement in the construction of this Dulce base, but also that there are 129 deep underground military facilities around the USA, and that they have been for decades. He also reported that his grandfather, this part is true, you can check it out. Schneider's grandfather was a German military officer who was captured during World War II and began working for the U.S. on black projects, such as the Philadelphia experiment and the A-bomb. There's also some evidence that that's true, like I said. And after the Dulce battle, because this Schneider man gets around, he went to work at Area 51, of course. Where else would you go?
Why not?
He also claimed that the Star Wars system that was created as a defense against the ICBM attacks is actually a defense system from alien threats, which actually kind of
that would
makes
make
sense.
Sure.
You know what?
Why wouldn't you want to defend against something coming in from elsewhere?
Right. And he also said a whole bunch of other stuff about government conspiracies in other countries, some really strange sounding stuff. But in his last lecture, he said something, and I want to quote from him. Pardon me, if I could. I was just preparing to deliver the Phil Schneider quote. This is the last lecture he gave. 11 of my best friends in the last 22 years have been murdered. 8 of the murders were called suicides. Before I went to talk in Las Vegas, I drove a friend to Joshua Tree near 29 Palms, which I've been there many years ago, and for a long time, unfortunately. I drove into the mountains to get to Needles, California, was followed by 2 government vans with government plates, and a couple of occupants, one of which had an Uzi, which I don't know how he would know that, but apparently he knew. I knew exactly who they were. I have spoken 19 times and probably reached 45,000 people. While I got ahead of them and came to a stop in the road, they went on each side of me and plummeted into a ravine. I cut up my security card and sent it to the government and told them if I was ever threatened, I was going to upload 140,000 pages of documentation to the internet about government structure and the whole plan. I have already begun that task. Thank you very much.
Then he was killed.
Then he was dead a few months later.
Oh, really?
A few months later.
How did he die?
The crux of the story.
Okay.
Ding. Phil Schneider said that his last lecture was in May of 1995, and he was found dead a few months later. The circumstances of his death are really strange. And I know we've discussed criminal investigations in the show in the past. And there's a lot of bungled murder investigations in the world. Did you know that?
Much, especially outside of the U.S., but
around the world.
Around the world, yeah.
If you kill somebody, the chances that you get caught are actually not that great. There's a lot of unsolved murders.
Sure.
Did you know that? You know that. And also, this may be a bungled one, but to give a little background. So Schneider had a lot of health problems. He was confined to a wheelchair. He had cancer. He had MS. He was not mobile. He had a lot of weird problems. And he lived alone in an apartment. So he didn't show up for a while, and someone did a welfare check, and they found him dead. So responding police officers thought it was natural causes due to his health.
Sure.
And the scene. From everything they looked at, it looked like natural causes. So they didn't call for a medical examiner. They just had the body sent directly to the funeral home. Now, I'm not sure if that's normal. Maybe you can shed some insight on that.
Well, generally speaking, it just depends on the circumstance. I wasn't there, so I can't speak intelligently about that.
No, but if there was an elderly man, it didn't look like there was any signs of foul play or anything, is that normal that they would...
Only if it was an elderly person with a history of serious medical conditions, right, and the family was involved. The family would have to be involved in that situation as well. Now, if there was no family, then obviously it would go to the medical examiner's office.
Oh, okay. Well, this guy ended up in the funeral home, and the funeral home dude was preparing the body for the funeral when he found that there was a rubber hose tied around the neck 3 times and knotted. It was hidden by the fat folds in the guy's neck.
No.
Listen. So they found a rubber hose. It was actually a catheter.
If the police missed that, then there's a problem.
Well, this is supposed documented fact.
Okay.
So the funeral home guy calls the police and says, "Hey, you need to come back out here. This guy was murdered. He's been strangled." So they go back out there. The police investigate, and they determine that it was a suicide. I don't know why you would kill yourself by strangling yourself with your own catheter.
Well, I mean,
but apparently he did.
If he wasn't mobile and he couldn't really get up.
Well, that's one of the keys to this case. So the family members doubt that it was a suicide for a few reasons. Number one being the fact that he always told people if he was found to have committed suicide, he actually did not commit suicide. He was killed. Also, he had limited mobility, and he couldn't have gotten into the position that they found him in. Apparently, he was on the ground with his head, on his wheelchair. Like, he wouldn't have been able to do that because he was paralyzed or whatever. And there was said to be a number of documents and research materials that were missing from his apartment and have never been found. All of his UFO alien supposed research that he had is no longer there. Also, he owned a gun. He owned a handgun. Why would he strangle himself slowly with a rubber catheter instead of just ending his life instantly with a firearm?
Maybe he was trying to change his catheter, his self-lubricating catheter.
We talked about catheters,
and he got tangled up in it somehow, and it cut his wind off, and he passed out and died. Also,
they never did a toxicology report on him. The medical examiner or whoever's in charge of doing toxicology reports said they weren't going to waste the resources on a suicide, so they never did one. So there's a lot of weird circumstances around Phil Schneider's death. Did he know something? Was he treading into waters that he shouldn't have and someone just finally ended him? Or did he do it himself and try to make it look like that to lend some credence to all the crap that he'd been spewing?
I think that's more likely.
For the past several months.
I mean, he was so... what happens to people when they get so involved or... wrapped up in a story or a lie, if you will, it becomes part of them, and they're just trying to perpetuate this lie and make it part of reality. Because for them, it is reality.
So his final act was to reinforce
his story, to give it credibility.
Sure.
Yeah.
So are there really deep underground military bases? Maybe. We don't know that.
Well, I think that's known. That's a fact, right? I mean...
there are. There's bunkers and stuff. We know that.
Sure.
But are they cooperating with aliens and stuff? I don't know. And if we've been at war with them since 1979, how come we haven't seen anything?
No.
There's no type of, maybe there's a stalemate in the war. I don't know. Maybe it's a Cold War.
Well, yeah, it's well, I mean, if it's all underground, All right, playing devil's advocate.
Well, in doing a lot of research for this program, I did find a couple of interesting aspects of this story that I hadn't heard before. Like, for instance, the gray alien that we always think of when we think of aliens. Most people think of the large bulbous head and the small body and everything. Yeah. That's actually a suit. Oh. And underneath that suit is their like green reptilian skin.
Okay.
And the big bulbous head with the dark eyes is actually a helmet because they're sensitive to photo whatever you call it, sensitive.
Okay.
And they can't be in the sunlight.
I see.
All that blocks
out.
out.
So it's a protective layer, if you will.
So I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, it'd be much like when we go into outer space. You get suited up or into the deep seas. Mm-hmm. So maybe they got to get suited up to be able to live in our environment.
Maybe
it's possible.
So that's a supposed military war that's been going on. It's hard to imagine that something that big could be covered up and only revealed by one.
That's
dude.
Right. That's true.
Years ago.
I'm not gonna talk much about my topic this second, but it's it has some. My story has some parallels as well. There's one or two whistleblowers, and like you have to take everything that they have because there's nobody else that's coming out, so you have to listen to what they have to say and formulate your own opinions based on it. So interesting.
Anyway, so that's my part.
That's a good part.
Thank you.
What other parts do you have?
I have some other parts for everyone to see.
So I think we're coming upon the halfway point of the show. We're going to take a quick break to configure the next portion of the show.
Let's configure.
And we'll get back out of here in a second.
All right.
All right. Here we back.
Hey, we back
again after the musical interlude.
Oh, there was a musical interlude.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of strange shenanigans, before we get into this little halfway point, so I went to the mall. I went and got a mall massage the other day.
Oh,
the Asian mall massage.
Another mall massage.
I don't know. There's something about a strange Asian lady rubbing her unfamiliar hands all over my oiled body that I just enjoy.
Does it for you?
That's right.
Okay.
So in the midst of it, towards the end, they finish you off with a.
Choose your words carefully.
They finish you off with a hot rock rub down.
Okay.
So she's vigorously rubbing me with these hot rocks
again,
almost burning my skin.
Choose your words carefully, Leonidas.
And there was a mishap. She lost one of the stones in my crevasse. And
she lost the stone into the crack.
And she started giggling, and I didn't know what to do.
Did you clench?
I had to.
Did you clench?
I had to reach down and retrieve the.
Oh, she wouldn't take it out of it?
No, she didn't.
Was it a small stone or a large stone?
Like a medium sized.
Did you try to push it back in?
I squeezed my butt cheeks as hard as I could and shot it to the roof.
You're a very trusting person. I'm afraid of those places. I don't want anyone. If you're a mob guy, that's where they get you.
Yeah.
You're being massaged by some lovely young lady, and then they come in and cut your head off.
They cut your throat off.
Yeah.
All right. So this next little bit, it's I guess it could be comedic in nature if Mike does his job properly.
Oh Lord.
So I'm going to reference a book called Common Phrases and Where They Come From by a guy by the name of Myron Korak.
Oh, Myron, I know him.
In collaboration with John Mordock. That's a good name.
That sounds like a cool name, yeah. I'm John Mordock. I'm the leader of the faction of darkness. So basically, everyday common phrases that we hear, but where do they come from? Okay.
Right?
So you're going to give me the phrase, then I have to tell you where it comes from?
That's right. So, like, an example would be, like, if I said, hold on, let me just find one making ends meet, so to speak, and then you would have to kind of think of the origins. If you know the origins, say it. If not, make something up that's going to make us giggle.
Okay, I can do that.
All right.
Here we go.
So the first one is going to be... this is more like so Adam's apple. You know your Adam's apple?
Yes.
What is that? Where does the term Adam's apple come from?
I have to assume that because, and I don't know this, I'm just reasoning it here. I have to assume that because Adam was the first man, and men only have that biological feature, that's why they call it Adam's apple.
Okay.
Is that right?
Well, so I'm going to read what he has here.
Okay.
So everyone is familiar with the story of Adam and Eve, but what many people might not be acquainted with is how the Bible story was actually embellished.
Ooh.
It was said that when Adam swallowed the forbidden fruit, one large piece of the apple remained in his throat and formed a lump there.
I never heard this.
The lump in every man's throat was named for the very first man, so that Adam's apple was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
But,
I've never heard that before, but okay.
but as we know, it wasn't necessarily an apple, was it?
No, it was probably a quince, right?
Or a fig.
A fig, right? A fig or a quince.
Because they never really specify by word, by
they just say
the name.
fruit.
They say fruit.
Why we say apple?
Because it's most common and people can relate to the
Well,
apple.
you know, apple trees are not that big. They're actually rather small trees.
Yeah, they're not giant.
Yeah.
You ever have crabapple fights as a kid?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have a crabapple tree in my yard now.
You throw them at each other?
Well, I throw them in the air and I hit them with a bat and they explode. My kids think it's hysterical.
I like to eat them.
You
All
eat crabapple?
Stool pigeon.
Stool pigeon.
Where does that come from?
Well,
First off, what is it used for?
stool pigeon means like a witness, like somebody who's gonna snitch on somebody.
That's right.
Okay. From probably because they sit on a stool and they squawk like a bird, like a pigeon. Is that right?
Well, the origins of it are... you're close. You're kind of on the right track there.
Okay.
So not so many years ago, the pigeon was an important item in every household food cabinet, if you can believe that.
I did not know that.
Livestock animals were not abundant, and hunting for pigeons was not an autumn sport, but crucial to human survival.
I did not know that people ate pigeons.
It was discovered that pigeons could be lured into a net by placing a clay pigeon atop a pole called a stool.
Oh.
When the pigeons surrounded the decoy on the stool, they were covered with a net. The decoy was thus called a stool pigeon.
Why would they go see the pigeon that's sitting on a pole?
Well, because they see their little buddy sitting there and they want to go say hi.
Well, they're pretty stupid pigeons.
So that's where stool pigeon comes from.
Okay.
All right, the next
I'm
one.
not doing very well.
All right, how about gift of gab?
Gift of gab.
Yes. So what does it mean in our day?
Well, we know it means to be somebody who can talk a lot.
That's right.
Who's the ability to do that. If I had to say the gift of gab, back in the early mythological period, there was a woman named Gab who talked a lot. One day, she was given as a gift of a slave to a visiting Persian warlord. Thusly, the gift of gab is born.
That's almost exactly correct.
Oh,
How'd you know that?
is that what it says?
No.
No.
So actually, it's of Scottish origin, and the word gab is Celtic for mouth.
Ma.
So in this common phrase, we have a rare example of the Scots giving away something for nothing.
Rare.
Of course, the gift, in this instance, has no tangible value, which is why Scots are so free with their gab.
Are you calling Scottish people cheap?
No.
Hopefully no one in Scotland is listening to this
All
program.
right, how about kick the bucket? What does that mean?
Well, that means to die.
Yep.
I have no idea. Well, maybe when someone is hung, as in for treason, they stand on a bucket, and when they go to hang them, they kick the bucket out from under them, thusly hanging them, and that's where we get it.
A crowd would gather around a sturdy tree. A rope was attached to a strong branch, and the victim was placed atop an upturned water bucket.
I told you.
The noose was tied, and the executioner kicked the bucket from under the victim, and you know how the rest goes.
I told you.
Wow, you got one right.
See?
That was good. You're not so dumb.
Very smart. I'm
All
not.
right.
I'm not as dumb as I appear.
Here's the last one. This is my favorite.
Okay.
Steal my thunder.
Steal my thunder.
Yes.
Well, obviously that means to get ahead of somebody that's usually going to tell a joke or is telling a story or is giving a presentation, whatever, and somebody else blurts out the ending, ruining it for everyone.
Right.
That's what it means. Where does it come from? Well, so we all know that Thor is the god of thunder. One day, Thor was walking through the forests of Norway,
The mall.
and someone came down and punched him in the face, kicked him in the groin, and stole his hammer, which causes thunder, and thusly stealing my thunder is born.
That's close. Around 1700, there lived a famous playwright who was also an ingenious stage property man. A prop man, basically. Among his most famous inventions was a machine that produced the sound of thunder off stage.
Okay.
Alas! One of his professional rivals stole his invention.
Oh.
So heartbroken was the playwright over his great loss that for a long time he wept bitterly, crying, "He stole my thunder."
Oh.
So he stole his thunder invention.
That's pretty interesting.
So he made thunder, and somebody took it.
Isn't
And
it weird, like this, so that one guy says that,
Yeah.
and then it just catches on, and now everybody knows what that means.
catches on fire.
Very
Well, they
strange.
don't know what it means. They know
but
why
they,
we say it.
No, but they know. Yeah, they know.
You know what I mean? Like,
right? They don't
in
know
context.
the origin of it. Right?
Exactly.
Ah,
That's pretty interesting, eh?
Yes, I didn't do so. I think I got one.
You got one right. That's all right. All right. So you need to reserve, or you have to put aside, I should say, any common or put aside any
Common sense?
reasonable sense that you have.
That would be easy.
For the next story that I'm going to tell.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yep.
And so basically, it intertwines Martians.
Okay.
It intertwines time travel, space travel, Barack Obama,
I didn't see that one coming.
and some other strange shenanigans.
Okay.
All right. So this is a project or an operation called Project Pegasus.
Ooh.
We all knew who Pegasus was, don't
The
we?
Flying Horse.
Remember the Clash of the Titans, that
Yes.
80s movie?
Matter of fact, I do remember Clash of the Titans, and my connection to Clash of the Titans was very limited until many years ago. I was getting a tattoo in the kitchen of a friend of mine who probably doesn't listen.
Dirty needles.
Who knows what he was doing? I was getting a tattoo for free, so I didn't care, and it was in his kitchen.
Well, it wasn't kind of for free. What'd you pay? You paid him something.
I bought him some wieners.
It's the wieners and a six-pack of Budweiser.
And some Budweiser.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was in the middle of getting a tattoo, and I looked up at him, and he was still doing my tattoo while looking up at the TV because Clash of the Titans was playing.
The original Clash.
The original Clash of the Titans with that stupid robot owl.
Do you remember who the main character was?
Harry Hamlin.
That's right. How'd you know that?
I'm smart, man.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, excuse me. Operation Pegasus, all right? Or Project Pegasus, I should say. It wasn't really an operation. It was a government time travel project, okay? And it was a DARPA inspired project. You know DARPA?
That's the Defense Applied Research
Project something
Association
or
or
other. That's right. It was a time-space slippage project, and it was also, the CIA was involved. A lot of secret government agencies were involved in this.
Right.
So a whistleblower, and I'll get more into him here in a minute. His name is Andrew Basaggio or something of that sort.
That sounds like a Italian porn star.
You got to look this guy up. All right.
Okay.
So he
sounds like Giorgio Tsoukalos almost.
Yeah. So he's apparently a Washington State-based attorney. He's a practicing lawyer. Mm-hmm. The guy is super intelligent. Like, he sounds ridiculously smart.
He's a lawyer.
Right?
Yeah.
He uses a lot of big fancy scientific terms.
$5 words.
And he tells these stories as if they're true and I don't want to say believable because it's so outlandish what he's saying.
Okay.
But the way he delivers it,
it's convincing.
It's very convincing, and it's like he's talking about going to the gas station and pumping gas. You know what I mean? It's that mundane. It's that just it makes it seem like every day something that we should be talking about.
Okay.
So there's a lot of videos of him out there. He's been the whistleblower on this for many, many years now. Apparently, he ran for president in 2016, but I don't remember.
He didn't win, though.
No, he didn't win.
No.
So apparently, this project was a secret twin project of the Manhattan Project. So as Manhattan Project was going on,
which was the atomic bomb,
they were exactly. So they were working on this Project Pegasus at the same time, probably using some of the same scientists supposedly.
Okay.
And it originated from the death of Nikola Tesla. We all know Tesla.
Yes.
And we should more people should know more about him.
He was a really interesting dude.
It's because of him that we have these lights on in the house today, and we have electricity as we know it.
Well, that's actually not true because there was some he was the direct current, right?
No, he was the alternating current.
He was alternating current, and direct current was Westinghouse.
Edison. So
we'll talk about that in another show.
Yeah. So anyway, he was a genius, so to speak.
Yeah.
And on January 7th, 1943, he passed away, right? He as a kind of like a recluse towards the end of his life. And supposedly his papers had gone missing, all his secret papers.
His papers are missing.
But
where are my papers?
Apparently, when he died, after he passed away, the government infiltrated his home. They stole all of his secret papers, and they took them to New Mexico again, to the desert.
What was going to New Mexico for?
Los Alamos, to the research facilities over there. Mm-hmm. And they started looking through his papers, and they started reverse engineering some of his works.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. So in 1968, they perfected something called Tesla teleportation, is what they called it. All right?
So this is all coming from the lawyer now?
Yes. Okay. This is coming from Mr.
Basaggio.
So apparently, this Tesla teleportation, you can open a vortal, what he calls a vortal tunnel.
Not a portal.
No, it's like a portal and a vortex combined.
Okay.
And you can slip through time and space. A person can pass right through time and space through this vortal.
Oh, it sounds like the Philadelphia experiment.
It's very similar.
More than the...
Yeah, very similar to that. So apparently, in the fall of 1970, just 2 years after this, they actually were able to figure out how you could move forward and backward in time.
Okay.
And traverse great distances in a matter of seconds. So you could go from, say Washington D.C. to Los Angeles, California in like 3 seconds.
Could they control it though? Could they like say where they wanted to go?
Yeah. They could. They could.
Because you don't want to teleport wherever. You end up in the middle of the ocean or something like that.
Well, that's what they said. And that, if you listen to Mr. Basaggio talk, he talks a lot of scientific stuff.
Right.
And he says that in order to go through this vortal, you're using your own inertia as you pass through, right? And you have to, the speed of the body has to be going at least 1 meter per second as you pass through.
That's pretty fast.
As you pass through this vortal. And if you don't...
So you got to be running.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you got to jump through. So what happened was, apparently on one of the early missions, as they were coming out the other end, one of the kids, because they used children on this, by the way.
That's nice.
I'll explain why they did that here in a minute.
Yeah.
But one of the children leapt into a like a fountain, a water fountain, like a public fountain or whatever. And apparently the relative density of the water is greater than the air around it. So his feet that landed in the water arrived a split second before the rest of his body.
Oh, no.
And his legs got chopped off at the bottom, and he slid off his ankles, and his feet landed and stayed in the water fountain.
Sounds great.
Apparently.
Did he die, I'm assuming?
No, he didn't die. They saved his life, but they realized what a mistake that was.
That is a big mistake.
So they
lost the
couldn't do
kid's
that.
feet.
So apparently this new form of Tesla energy was something called radiant energy. And radiant energy, basically, like I said, you can open the vortal, and the people jump through. They jump through this. They open this hole, and you jump through it.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
That sounds very exciting.
That's right. What do you think of that?
I think it's crazy.
What do you mean crazy? I told you to suspend your
Speaking
disbelief.
of which, did you see the end of... Did you watch Westworld Season 2?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I just started it last night.
Okay.
And I fell asleep like 10 minutes into it, so no.
Okay. I won't give it away then.
You have to give it away, but was it hard to follow for you?
Yes. First of all, it's hard to follow. Second of all, the ending sounds just like this crap that you're saying right now, but okay.
Was there a lot less gratuitous sex in this one?
There's no sex at all, which ruined my whole friggin' days, because it's long.
See, that's how they hook you.
No sex.
Season 1, everybody gets naked.
No sex.
See
There's lots of violence.
boobs and dongs everywhere, and then
you know what? If I had to boil season 2 of Westworld down to one thing, it would be special forces guys running around corners to get shot by people with 6-shooters.
Oh.
They act like they have no idea what they're doing. They have automatic weapons, and they're getting cut down by people with Old West 6 shooters.
They just run around haphazardly.
Run around, no tactics whatsoever.
Not wearing any protective
No,
gear.
they have armor on, but it doesn't matter. One shot,
Armor-piercing
they're all down.
revolvers?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
All right, so why did they use children?
I don't know.
Well, apparently they chose children between a certain age. I would say, 8 and maybe 12 or 14 years old. And they chose highly gifted, mentally highly gifted children, super smart kids that weren't so corrupted to the world as an adult would be.
Okay.
They wanted a very pure perspective on things when they were teleporting these kids across.
I don't understand what that would have to do with anything.
Across time and space, and they called these kids chrononauts.
Chrononauts.
Like time travelers.
So the parents had to sign them up for this program.
I guess so.
Let them go.
They had to sign a waiver and let them go. So where does the Obama tie come into this?
That's a great question. I don't know.
So apparently, he was recruited to take part in this as Barry Soetoro.
I was going to say he wasn't Barack Obama.
No, he was Barry
Soetoro.
Soetoro at the time, or however you want to say it.
Yep.
And he was recruited, and between 1981 and 1983, Obama was used. He would go to what they called the jump room.
The jump room.
And that's where you would go in this room, and you would jump
I think
from.
Michael Jackson had a jump room in his Neverland Ranch.
That's right, he did. Macaulay Culkin was there. So Obama apparently teleported with Mr. Basaggio to Mars. Yes.
They teleported to Mars. Okay.
That's exactly correct.
Didn't that happen in the great Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Total Recall when he ended up outside in the Mars atmosphere and his eyes bugged out of his head?
I would probably tell you that was one of my favorite movies of the late 80s.
Well, it had Sharon Stone,
a young Sharon Stone,
who was ridiculously gorgeous in
Yes,
that movie.
back in the day.
Ridiculous back in the day.
And as we were kids watching that, the special effects were absolutely incredible.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
But if you watch it now, it's obviously outlandish.
No.
And then they tried to reboot the movie with Colin Farrell a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Remember
I didn't see that one.
Not so good.
No, I liked the Arnold movie. Was entertaining. I'd watch it again.
You know what my favorite part of that movie was when I couldn't believe the special effects.
When he stuffed the thing up his nose.
Yes, yes. He had a tracker in his head.
That's right.
And he shot this thing up his nose to pull this
it was
glowing ball out.
It was like a pair of pliers or something, and
out
they
of his
had to
nostril.
Get it out of his nostril, and
That's
it showed
right.
it coming out and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then they engineered Mars to be another Earth. Remember towards the end, and the oxygen. They brought the oxygen.
Oh
in?
yes, that's right.
That's how That's how he saved his life.
Get back to Mars.
That movie threw me for a loop, man. It was confusing. But anyway, so they wanted Obama back then.
Why was Obama in this program? Because in the 80s he was just Barry Soetoro from Kenya, or wherever he's from.
Well, that's the thing. That's why we don't know where he's from.
Actually,
that's one of the conspiracies. Is like, where was he born in Kenya? Was he born in Hawaii?
He doesn't seem to know either because
we don't have a birth certificate.
On a recent trip to Kenya, he said he was the first Kenyan to become president of the United States. So,
right.
Or first person from Kenya, I should say.
Well, let me ask you this: if your father is Kenyan, but you're born in the U.S.,
you're a U.S. citizen.
You're not Kenyan, right?
No,
but you'd be Kenyan in origin.
That's your heritage.
Maybe that's what he meant.
But he should know better than to say that because a lot of people are still on that whole thing.
That's right.
Anyway.
So he, as a youth, he was recruited to be an ambassador to Mars.
Oh.
So him and Andrew would teleport and some other youths.
What were they doing?
From the jump room, and they would travel to Mars.
Okay.
That's right.
What do they do when they get to
Well,
Mars?
they met the Martian. They were the Martians there. They were Martians.
Oh, they're people that live on Mars.
There's intelligent life on Mars.
How come we haven't seen it? We have
a cover-up.
roving around up
No,
there.
it's a cover-up.
Okay.
It's a cover-up. And Obama was tasked with, meeting the Martians.
Okay.
And befriending them, and setting up defensive, a defensive outpost to protect Earth from Mars, from attacks from outer space.
Oh, so there are allies, and there are people attacking Mars and us.
Sure.
Okay. Is that why he became president?
Well, it's all part of it.
Because of the Martians?
That's right.
This whole story sucks.
You don't like it?
No.
This happened.
What evidence? What evidence does he have to support any of these claims?
His stories.
So he has no. Okay. So how does this story wind up? Like, how did he get out of this program?
Well, eventually he grew up and he got too old for the program. And now they're concealing. Apparently, the big thing is that they're concealing this advanced technology for whatever reason. They don't want people to know about it. But he's saying he's a whistleblower, Mr. Basaggio is, because he wants the people to know that we have access to all this great power and this great energy and this great alternative energy.
There's where I tend to think that there's something to that, because there haven't been the leaps in technology in certain areas that you would figure that there would be to this point. And then you start going, well, why is that? Well, because there's billions and trillions of dollars at stake if those industries change.
Right.
Like, just talking about Tesla, Tesla was a proponent of free energy for all.
That's right.
And he had these plans for these giant towers that would emit energy that anybody could use.
Right. Basically what they were doing is he was using the natural electromagnetic field of the Earth and pulling energy from the atmosphere.
Yes.
And anybody could plug into it anywhere and get free energy.
But that would basically destroy the energy industry.
Right.
So there goes electricity and fossil fuels and everything else.
That's right.
Which is, billions and trillions of dollars.
Nobody wants to so easily give up on their stranglehold on, stuff like that.
Sure.
Money and energy and things of that sort.
Like the internet. Do you honestly think that the internet and Wi-Fi can't be free? Sure.
Why not?
Sure it could. It could pretty easily be free, I think.
Sure. I remember back to when I was a kid, I don't know, 10, 12 years old or whatever. My uncle, I talked about him on the show before, Uncle Bobo.
Oh, Uncle Bobo, yes.
They had solar panels on the roof of their house back in like the mid-'80s.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And you're like, well, wait a minute, that was the mid-'80s. And, we do use solar energy now, but you'd think that it would be so much more advanced, 30, 40 years later.
They still put solar panels on houses, but you got to... From what I understand about that, it's something to do with the battery capacity.
Yeah.
It's the size of the battery is prohibitive or something like that, which doesn't make any sense at all because they can put the battery in your cell phone will last several days if you don't use it.
Right, and that's the thing too. Like if you have these solar panels and you're creating energy, your own electricity. Right. If you're creating more than you're using, you're actually putting it back on the grid.
Well, that's what they
you make money off of it.
Yeah, they do that. Supposedly, I don't know how much they make if they make much.
Yeah,
that's true.
But the thing is, too, another example of screwing the average everyday Joe like you and I.
Yes.
Right. So these solar panel,
I like being screwed sometimes.
So what do these solar panel companies do now? They're like, oh, well, we'll give these people solar power.
Yep.
We'll make them think that they're saving the environment and that they're going to save on electricity, but you're financing.
Right.
So they come to your house, $50,000 for solar panels, and you're paying for it for the rest of your life.
They make it sound like it's going to be free energy every month, and it's not. It doesn't work like
No, you're paying somebody always. you know?
Well, that's your life, man. You work and you pay, and then you die.
The only way that doesn't happen is you go off the grid, literally, like go live in the mountains of Montana or something.
And then you try to do that, and then the government comes after you.
They do.
Like Ruby Ridge.
They can't leave you alone, man.
They can't. They got to come get you. Get their fists in your face.
Hate to get political on the show.
Anyway,
So a retired Army major, Ed Dames. And Ed Dames is famous for being involved in the government remote viewing program.
Yes, we've talked about that in the show.
So apparently, not only was he a remote viewer, but Ed Dames was also involved in Project Pegasus.
Oh.
And he's quoted as saying, apparently he told this to a young Barry Soetoro. He said, simply put, your task is to be seen and not eaten. Oh. When he was talking about going to Mars.
Oh, that was his, okay.
You don't want to be, you want to...
So they eat people?
Oh, they could. They could potentially eat you.
Oh.
So you just want to be, you want to be nice. You want to be like every ambassador is.
Is that where he learned to give such great speeches?
That's right. It all started there on the surface of Mars.
Obama.
So do yourselves a favor if you want some good entertainment and be riveted. He's a riveting speaker.
Okay,
Mr. Basaggio.
I'm going to check out Mr. Basaggio. It sounds like a place where you would go get a great submarine sandwich. I'm going to Basaggio's to get an Italian grinder. Sounds good.
So I was actually watching a video on him recently. It's like an hour and a half long interview he did for some. I don't know if it's a podcast or some video interview thing. And these two, I hate to say, these two guys were
they ragging on him?
sitting there. No, they're sitting there drinking beer, buying into everything that he's saying.
Oh, they weren't challenging.
And they didn't really ask very probing questions. And we're not about, we like interviewing people. We're not about embarrassing people.
But you gotta push back on something.
But you gotta if you have an outlandish or the most amazing claims in the world, that are so far out there, you have to be questioned on it. You have to be, you're not embarrassed, but you have to be able to, prove some of it. You know what I mean? You can't just say it and then have everybody just go along with what you're telling them.
I don't know.
That's not right.
Nope. Anyway.
So what do you think about that? You think we can travel to Mars via a vortal?
I think both of the stories that we talked about today are complete nonsense. That's what I think. I think that some people have a hole in their lives that they fill by pretending to be something that they're not. Now, some people do it by being actors. Some people do it by creating stories about going to Mars.
Sure.
So it just depends on what their personal thing is.
But how can you create such an elaborate story in the case of Mr. Basaggio, right?
Yeah.
And yet still live a semi-normal life and be a practicing attorney?
I don't know how he's still an attorney. Because wouldn't somebody say, you need to be mentally tested? Because what you're saying doesn't make any sense.
I guess not. So he
I wouldn't hire... Would you hire him to be your lawyer?
Yeah, I would. You know why? Because he's quite the storyteller.
He's a good storyteller.
He convinced the jury of just about anything.
That's true, and you probably need one.
You'd be found not guilty, and next thing you know, they think that you're flying to Mars via a vortal.
Hey, Skip Bail, he's on Mars with Barry.
So apparently, the White House actually came out and made a statement on this.
They did
when the president, when
I can't believe that
Obama
they would
was the
make
president.
A statement about that.
And they said that the only ties he had to Mars was when he was watching Marvin the Martian as a child, or something
Marvin
along
the
those.
Martian.
You didn't like that? Oh, Marvin the Martian.
He didn't really do anything. He had a big ray gun.
He was trying to destroy Bugs Bunny, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was mean. Why does everybody want to kill Bugs Bunny? Bugs is a nice dude, man. He seems like he's cool to hang out with. He makes jokes.
No?
He's an instigator?
He's a punk.
He's not a punk.
He's a punk that deserves a beating.
He's a punk. Nice.
Anyway.
Well, once again, our show is going off the rails.
No.
This isn't quite as bad as we've done in the past.
What else do you want to say before we wrap it up today?
I just want to thank those who've joined us on Twitter. And you can always send us an email. Tell us what you think about the show. At TheEoNProject, TheEon Project at yahoo.com. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook. Did you know that Facebook has lost half its users in the past year?
I believe it. Apparently, there's a new
one goes on
there's
Facebook.
A new site that people are using. It's called Vomvos.
I've heard that. Yes,
I haven't checked.
I have not checked it out
yet.
But you know what? The only people on Facebook now are the old folks who just figured out how to use it and use it to complain about their town. A lot of people do that.
You know,
my trash wasn't picked up today.
I hate the Facebook attention seekers. We've talked about that before.
Oh, yes, they're everywhere.
27 selfies in a row.
Look at all these selfies and tell me which one of me is the best.
Look at this. Which lip liner do you like the best? Picture 7 or picture 23?
Comment on why you love me. Go.
Ready? And go. Thanks, everyone. I know, I'm so beautiful. All right, anyway. So that's the show for today. We're going to be, hopefully next week, I think, we want to do a JFK assassination program.
Oh, yes. We got a guest for that.
We have an in-studio guest coming in who has an interest in this. He's not an expert by any means, but he's He has a good working knowledge of the whole thing.
Probably smarter than us.
And he enjoys beer. So what we're going to do is we're probably going to revisit an alcohol show. So we're going to talk JFK, and we're going to drink different beers and talk about those at the same time.
Sounds good.
And that'll be fun.
Yep.
So make sure you get yourself an Uber out of here, Mike.
I'll do my best.
All right.
Does Uber come to Primrose Village?
I don't know. I've
not.
never had them come here before. You might get lost in the wilderness. All right. Until next time, just remember, the truth exists. Believe it.